set.
I let him go first.
So for the 6 foot reasons, you guys are sort of a little bit at the edge. It'll get everything, including right in here, if you guys are up and moving around.
Everybody ready? All right, action. Thanks, Josh.
Good morning. I feel out of practice for talking to a bunch of folks because all of our city council meetings have been via Zoom, and so I've gotten really good at multitasking in front of a couple of different screens with the agenda pulled up on one and everybody's picture on the other one. So anyways, my name is Josh Baer, and I'm running for re-election for City Council, for Norcross City Council. My folks moved to Norcross when I was 1, and that was a long time ago. And there's a lot that's changed in this area since then. And went to University of Georgia and met my wife out there. And when I wrapped up school, I was looking around for where I was going to move to, and I had the Atlanta Journal-Constitution open, the paper version, you know, and there was a townhome for sale on Beaver Ruin Road for $50,000, and I figured out, man, I can buy and not even have to rent because of this really affordable real estate right here on Beaver Ruin, and it's right close to where my folks are and the family business. And so I bought that townhome on Beaver Ruin, and then got married to my wife, and then one day we were walking through downtown Norcross and we saw this house on North Peachtree that we live in, and again, it was sort of like, I think we can make this house work. And North Peachtree was sort of going through a little bit of a renaissance then. This was in 2001, and so we bought the house and sawed down a tree in the front yard that was in the wrong place, and painted every single room and the ceiling, and planted new grass, and just started getting all involved in Norcross. And there was a lot of exciting stuff going on in Norcross then. There was a group of neighbors that were coming together and trying to just make sure their voice was heard and get involved. And so that was very exciting. Lillian Webb was the mayor at that time. And so I started coming downtown and going to council meetings and going to other meetings, and it was just really exciting. And there was a lot of good energy and so on. And so I got involved and I ran for a city council seat, and I've lost, honestly, more times running for council than I have won, but that has taught me a lot. I've met a lot of folks, and got to know a lot of people and hear what their stories were and what they were passionate about, what brought them to Norcross. And so I got onto the council and I served for 2 years, and I was pretty young, and it was a very sharp learning curve, and Miss Lillian didn't know what to think about me. And some of the other council members, like Barry Payne, didn't know what to think either. And but we had a good time, and we got a lot of stuff accomplished. And Miss Lillian came around on me, I think, before it all ended. And Terry Bowie ran against me and won. And so then my wife and I got busy, and we had 4 kids. And so that keeps us pretty busy. 2 boys and 2 girls, their ages 12 all the way down to 3. And then in 2014, I said to my wife I'd like to get back involved, and somehow she was okay with that, even with 4 kids. And so I ran for city council and got on and started serving in 2015. And so Bucky Johnson was the mayor then, so I served with Bucky, and then Craig came on and served with a lot of different folks in town, Charlie Ream and Tim Hopton, and like I mentioned, Barry, and Chuck, exactly. Can't forget Chuck
Just
Paul.
yeah. You got about
Lynch.
1 minute left, just
Yeah.
FYI.
Okay. And it's it's been really something to see Norcross grow and change over time, and but then us also keep our history in mind. And Gene Ramsey, I saw him walk in, there he is right there. He's passionate about our history, and that's really exciting. So you know, I'm running again because I feel like there's still lots to be done. I'm very passionate about parks, and I'm very passionate about our community and just folks getting along, and there being harmony. And so I think I'll wrap it up on harmony. That's a good word.
Harmony's a good one. Good. Thanks, Josh. Sonia, when if you get to 4 minutes, I'll kind of like just raise my hand. I didn't want to butt in, but just so you know, but anyway, you're ready whenever.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonia Lopez. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Sonia Lopez. I'm an American citizen. I emigrated from El Salvador when I was 13 years old. I came to this country in 1971 to Los Angeles, California. That's where I met my husband. We got married. We've been married 45 years. We have 3 lovely children. They're all grown and professional. Through my children, I have 3 amazing grandkids. 5 years ago, I moved to Georgia in Marietta. A year later, we moved to Norcross, and I fall in love with this small town. And I get to know the program the police had offered back then, the Police Academy for the Citizen in Spanish. And I joined in. I started being a volunteer in this city. I had the opportunity to be a Lions Club member in 2016. At this moment, I held 2 positions: chairman of new membership and secretary. I had the biggest opportunity to be the founder of the first Latino Lions Club in Norcross. That's how I put my heart on this city. I love to be involved with the community. I know I can give the community a small something, but I know that when I do it with my heart. You might ask, what do I have to offer? Or why do you have to vote for me? And this one, I'm going to have to read it to you. Number 1, represent all residents and business that live, work, and play in our city by bridging us into a thriving community. Number 2, continue helping with the Buford Highway Master Plan and making alliance with community activists to make sure that we have a strategic from our projects while keeping our local natural scenery that make us unique. Number 3, attract more investments through new projects like Cultural Arts Center. They can attract tourism and serve our youth through classes in art, music, modern dance, and folkloric dances. And there are few limitations when we think out of the box. I'm sure that we all want this city to flourish and each a resident to prosper. Please do your part. Participate, learn about all candidates for the Norcross City Council, vote, join me and volunteer and help our city. If you like to be a volunteer or get a yard sign, I have a sign-up form. Thank you for your support, and may God bless and protect our beloved city. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you both. We're going to go into questions, and I'll start with Sonia on this side now.
I think it's fair.
And then we'll alternate. If the answer goes more than 2 minutes, I'm going to raise my hand. There's no clear cut. This is not a debate where there's like, you've got 30 seconds to rebut and so on and so forth. We'll try to keep it, level, but try to keep your answers to 2 minutes, and I'll give you a little heads up on the 2 minutes coming up, okay? This first question is a little bit long, so let me read it out to everybody. Last year, Mayor and Council approved sending a bill to the legislature to double the size of Norcross via annexation. Citizens within the city were not allowed to vote on this major annexation. Mayor and Council justified this action based on sparsely attended public hearings that included a questionable study. These are not my words, this was sent in. Many residents opposed it. The Georgia Senate then refused to consider the bill as written and recommended that it should only be considered if the citizens of Norcross allowed the vote to annex. The Senate bill let the bill die in the Georgia Senate this past year. So it kind of goes back to square one. Here's the question. Do you agree with the Senate's recommendation, and will you commit to letting the public vote on any major annexation proposal within the city of Norcross in the future?
Well, first of all, I understand that this needs to go to legislator, that it needs to be voted. And this is something new for me. So I think that I need to learn the process. And if it will be for the benefit to our community, I will say, you know what? It's worth it. Let's work on it. But if I see, to my understanding, that it's not going to be for the benefit of this city, why? That will be my answer. But I know that this is something new, and I need to learn the process.
Thank you, Sonia. Josh?
This section that we were talking about annexing is, just so that y'all are familiar with it, so it was south of Jimmy Carter and east of Beaufort Highway. So where the Lucent Technology site is, and then there's railroad tracks running down Beaufort Highway, and then you go down to the county line, and that's the southerly end. So DeKalb is on the southerly end, and everything to the right of Beaufort Highway, if you're driving south of Beaufort Highway, everything to the right is Peachtree Corners. So Peachtree Corners comes right up to this area, and I believe it's, hopefully I'm not looking stupid here, but I believe it's, is it Chamblee or Doraville that comes right up to the, so Doraville comes right up to the other side. So there's two cities that come right up to this property, and so, it was a 5-0 vote by the city council to head forward with annexation. Chuck was one of those 5, as well as myself, and we sent it to the state, and I respect the state legislature's opinion, and I think that that it's a good point made that going forward we should get all the citizens of Norcross to be able to vote on the annexation. And so I have no problem at all promising that, at least for my part, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Norcross has been referred to as a tale of two cities. In other words, the life and activity that exists in the downtown historic district is different than the part that lives on the east side of Beaufort Highway. What are your thoughts on how to best engage the citizens on the east side of Beaufort Highway so that the city comes together as one? Despite the demographics, one side is underrepresented when it comes to involvement within the city of Norcross. And that would go to Josh, and then we'll go back and forth.
You know, it's certainly a conundrum that we've been talking about ever since I got involved in politics in Norcross. You know, like I mentioned to you all, when I first moved back to Norcross after school, I lived on Beaver Ruin, and you know, there's been a lot done to try to make sure that there's a fair allocation of resources. You know, Andrew also lived on the other side. Andrew Hickson also lived on the other side of Beaufort Highway, and he was very instrumental in getting Pinnacle Point Park up and running, and it's just a terrific park. Went over there to get some pictures for the campaign, and there's just so many great places to get pictures. The bridges are really beautiful, and it's great. You know, our kids love that playground over there. So there's children playing together over there, and I don't think that it's something that it's just a light switch that you just flip and it all of a sudden changes. I think it's an over time type thing, and I think that you know. It's making sure that we're always inviting and that we're always doing everything we can to make sure that there's no barriers for anyone to participate in any way that they want to. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Sonia?
I think that we have to get involved in the community, like walking through the neighborhood, letting them know that we are their representative, that we are working for them, that we are looking for the best opportunity for everybody, so they feel trust in the city hall and the police department and all the people in the city hall. Because that's the problem. A lot of our people in the community, they have no trust because of everything that is going on. But I think, as in my experience, that I went knocking to door with the Census 2020 committee, I worked around the neighborhood and explained them why it's so important to fill out the census. That will give them the idea that we are here for them, that we're not here to hurt them, so they can be more involved in everything that the city does. In my experience, I have my nonprofit, many of you know, Asami ATL, and we help the children's low income, the families. So I know how they feel. I know that somebody can make the difference if they feel comfortable, if they feel they are welcome on this side. So to me, is more contact with them. That it would be my answer.
Thank you. Sonia, you're next.
Okay, I guess so.
What is your vision for what you think the citizens of Norcross would like to see in terms of future public projects?
I think that it will be like opportunity for the youth, empower our youth, so we have better citizens in the future. Have opportunities in the school, maybe after school program, or have a program that they can come after school, helping them with their work, so they can go the extra mile. That will be something very important for all of us, for all our children. So in the future, we have good citizens, good people. We're gonna feel safe everywhere we go. We have to empower our children, our residents, so they can be a better person.
Josh?
said public projects?
What is your vision for what you think the citizens of Norcross would like to see in terms of future public projects?
You know, on the policy meeting on Monday, Tixie Fowler brought something to the table that was really exciting, and that tied right in with something that John Davis started working for with the city a long time ago, which was more paths and walkability connectivity in the city. And you know, the project that John brought forward was really exciting because it potentially could eliminate a lot of retention ponds around town. Like, for instance, the retention pond in front of the post office, and just retention ponds all over in subdivisions and so on, because it basically creates this gigantic retention pond out of that Beaver Creek watershed. And so what Tixie brought was you know, this plan forward of paths that just connect all over town, and where, you know, you don't have to hop into a car, that you can be on foot or maybe even on bike and get around town. And so I think that that's a terrific, you know, public project that Norcross can get behind, and potentially can fund itself, because if we can create this giant watershed, then we can rent that out. And so it's a brilliant plan by John's, and we've been making progress on it, but we need to continue that progress. And I think that would be a real crown, I mean, a real gem in Norcross's crown, to have that kind of walkability and connectivity.
Thanks, Josh. And you're next. Food trucks have been utilized to various degrees of success in the past in our downtown area. Downtown Duluth has had a big success with their Food Truck Fridays for several years. What is your stance on allowing food trucks on certain days or certain occasions within our downtown areas?
That's more of a hot potato than you all realize. I need to scan the room and see if I see any downtown restaurant owners. Of course, we're sitting right here in Keith's establishment. You know, I could get in trouble for saying this, but I just took my wife out to dinner in downtown Duluth the other night, and they do have some pretty cool stuff that they've done with food trucks. You know, the tricky part of it all is that I definitely support our downtown merchants, and they work really hard to improve their buildings and to have great food options for folks. And so it's not easy. You know, they're not. It can be hard at times to get folks in the door. Forget COVID, just in general, you know, it can be hard to get folks in the door. So I think food trucks are really cool, but I do think it's a path that we need to walk down, and respect the folks that have invested to stay long-term in our downtown, and they're not just coming in on a truck and leaving. And so I do appreciate everyone who's taken their money and invested it in downtown.
Sonia?
I think it's a very tricky question, because everybody needs an opportunity. And like I mentioned before, that we have to think out of the box. And who knows that if we give an opportunity to an outsider, at the end it will be more beneficial for ours. Why? Because the resident will go eat there. The food may be great, but who knows? The food is no good. And what's gonna happen? Those residents that when they spend their money there, they're gonna appreciate more the restaurants that they have here, that they don't have to go outside and spend their money. They can spend it here, and they're gonna appreciate more what we have in town.
Thank you, Sonia. And I'll ask Sonia next. Considering the current pandemic, what it has done to our local economy, and knowing that much less money is coming into the city to utilize, how do you plan to balance the budget in the next 12 to 24 months And an add-on to that, would layoffs or furloughs be on the table?
I think that we could organize a small events, charge little, but so everybody can participate. That could be one option. We could have maybe a flea market. We never had a flea market in Norcross. Find a spot that you can get rid of everything that you don't use and you can make money. Advertise for the restaurants, the small business here. Find a way to advertise. The social media, YouTube, it's so many options right now. You just have to be open. You know, what will be the best, search for the best option.
Josh?
You know, Rudolph Smith is our outgoing city manager, and he was with the city for 22 years, and he started off as our head of the financial department. And two things about Rudolph. Number one, the nicest guy you ever met, very customer service driven. And number two, very, very fiscally conservative. So Rudolph made really sure that the city was run very well and that we had money set aside for a rainy day. And Rudolph reacted very quickly when this pandemic started to make sure that the city was protected financially. And so Rudolph immediately went out to all the different departments and asked them for ways that they can save money, and he redrew up the budget, and he left us in a great place to be able to survive through this. And so we haven't had to do anything drastic like layoffs, and I'm hoping, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic that the scientists and doctors working on a vaccination will have one soon, and that this will get behind us, and that we'll start to enjoy some renewed economic viability, and we won't have to go down that route. And you know, we're in the process now of interviewing for a new city manager, and I'm very optimistic about that too. We just had interviews yesterday. So.
Thank you. Josh, this one's for you. As a council member, or to Sonia, as a potential council member, along with the mayor and council, have the responsibility to approve members to various boards within the city. Tree board, ARB, P&Z, so on and so forth. What do you think the requirements should be in addition to the establishment requirements of either being a citizen within the city limits or owning a business within the city limits of Norcross? And that's yours, Josh.
I'm not sure exactly where the questioner was coming with that, so I'll just talk a little bit about our boards. You know, we've got a lot of boards in Norcross, everything from planning and zoning to downtown development to the Public Arts Commission. LA Bonds is on that, and Bob Grossman, and very enthusiastic. Sustainable, B. Grossman is involved with that. Discovery Garden Park. And some of these boards, we have a line a mile long of folks that want to get involved. And but some of these boards, it takes a person who's really passionate about whatever the topic is, and so we don't have as much interest. So it's hard to set up rules that work for all the boards because of that difference in demand for them. You know, we want to have folks involved in these boards. First of all, we need folks to apply. You can't just grab somebody off the street and say, "Hey, got some news for you. You're going to be volunteering on such and such board." And but the folks that, you know, we want to make sure that we're very public about there being vacancies on the boards, and that we're very upright, open about what the requirements, you know, what the volunteering requirements are in terms of how much time it's going to take, and the meetings that you might have, and so on. And But we want, ultimately what the city council and mayor wants is that we want the whole community to be represented on these boards and have a voice and be involved in making the decisions that guide our community and make Norcross a great place to be in.
Sonia?
Can you do me a favor, repeat
want me
the
to read it?
question?
Sure,
No,
absolutely.
the last part,
The last part?
last part.
What do you think the requirements should be in addition to the established requirements of either being a citizen or owning a business within the city of Norcross?
I think the most important requirement, it should be how passion are you to help your community. Because if you live in this city, you want the best for the city. That should be the first requirement. If you have a business, you want your business to grow. So you have to be the best you can to produce. So you can exclude, or I don't think this person qualified. The most important is what you have in your heart. And I know sometimes there is a political thing. They say, no, these are the rules and this is how it needs to be. But you need to be careful there because people always want to be involved and sometimes they don't have the opportunity to be involved, to put the best on them for the city.
Thank you. Sonia, you'll be next. Parking has been an issue in the city of Norcross forever. During COVID, obviously, parking is not as much of a problem as we all know because businesses either aren't open or they're only allowed to have so many percent inside the building, whatever. Parking has been an issue for a long time. We have floated numerous ideas of parking decks in different places. We expanded the parking lot down beyond Dominic's on the other side of the street, which is a help. But eventually, we will get back to normal. Eventually, the restaurants will be open full bore, as will the retail and everybody else. So, what are your thoughts of, one, parking long-term? And don't think of COVID, because I think that's kind of I'd like to think it's like being pregnant. Eventually, we will be over it. So, but there always has been a problem, or at least a perceived problem. What is your thoughts on parking in terms of, particularly a parking deck, because I think that's always been the bugaboo. It's like, we want parking, but we don't want a deck. Whatever.
Well, here we go again. We have to think out of the box. Why? Because we want this downtown to grow. We need a parking lot. We have to find a way. If it's raise the money, if the money is the problem, find a way that we can raise the money. Find a spot where it will be best for everybody. Because I know, if you want to come and have maybe dinner or lunch and it's busy, or when we have an event, the music and the summit and everyone comes, there's no parking. So we have to look for the resource to find a way to make, probably I think all this is new because he probably have all the right answers because he's in the inside, but this is new for me. But I'm pretty sure that one of the problems probably is the money because it's too much money. We have to probably raise the money, see how we can come up with the money. What will be a better option? Because at the end, everybody's gonna get the benefit for it.
Josh?
You know, we've come at this parking thing from so many different directions. You know. Like Chuck mentioned, you know, we had a parking study done, so we took your taxpayer money and we paid it to some fancy consultants, and they came in and they analyzed the whole situation. They walked around different times of the day, and they said, you don't have a parking problem, and you have a lot of potential for the future. And this parking study is published on our website somewhere. I can get it to you.
Let's give this a minute. Hopefully it's coming all the way through. Quickly. No!
Just emphasize what a small community.
Thank you! Thank you!
Don't complain, they do a great
I
job.
love
Damn,
small
Mike,
small
you
towns
wanna
are great.
somebody you miss?
All right, I'm sorry, Josh.
So you know, in addition to the parking study, we partnered with Gwinnett County when they were building their library to add some extra parking spaces underneath their library that we were hoping were going to serve this area as it gets developed. We partnered with the developer down here in the corner with the apartments to help them build their parking deck, and there's some parking spaces in there that are to serve this area as it gets built out. Like Chuck said,
You won't be penalized.
This is the problem with parking.
We'll call this a train break.
Yeah.
You know, you could sit out here for 3 hours and never hear a train. And then you have a meeting, and not only do you get the refuse truck, you get the trains, and there it goes. Anyway. All right, Josh, thanks.
So just to sort of wrap up, you know, we like I said, we want to support our downtown merchants. We want to make sure that people aren't run off because they can't find parking. But it is a bit of a tricky road to walk because, like Sonia's saying, parking decks are very expensive, like really expensive, and so Norcross has a bit of a tight budget, and so you know, and the whole town deserves money to be spent upon it, not just the downtown. The downtown is very important, but the whole town deserves the resources to be spread around. And so, you know, according to Elon Musk, we're going to have $25,000 electric cars driven around here sooner rather than later, and so we may even get to a point where you don't even need to park your car because you pull downtown and it leaves. You know, I mean, that's what they're predicting for the future. So we definitely don't want to build a parking deck that we're counting on for 20 years and we don't even need it after 10 years. So.
Thank you. I wanted to leave a little time because some of you either weren't aware of the questions that were being sent in, or maybe the conversation has like, oh wow, I want to ask this about. So if anybody has a question they'd like to ask, please raise your hand and don't be shy. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carla. I know both of you pretty well. I've done many projects here in this community of Norcross. I'm Carla Moginan. I've done many projects here in the Norcross community, and I know both of them very well. So my question, you know, for all of us who are kind of tired of petty politics, I just want to ask the basic question: what do you think is the biggest difference between the both of you in how you would perform on the council for the next session?
I think that would go to Sonia. first, I
The
believe.
biggest difference I could say is to connect our community, like they say from the other side, to come one and work together. If we work together, we will get a better service and everything. We will see our city flourish because we want to connect with everybody. We have to work hard and try to become one so we can have a better future. so our children can have better future, our grandkids, better future.
Josh?
Norcross is going through a humongous change right now, and thankfully we've been put into a good place. That we're going to be fine through it. But with the departure of Rudolph as our city manager, who's our city manager for 12 years, you know, that's a humongous change in terms of the culture of City Hall. And so Rudolph had a lot of great things going, and you know, I want to continue the great things that are going down at City Hall. I want to make sure that we have a seamless transition to a new city manager. I want to make sure that staff feels in a good place, so that we don't, you know, potentially when leadership changes in a company or in an organization, there can be a big turnover in staff. And you know, we are very fortunate in Norcross that we have many long-term employees that are committed to our city, and they're committed to great customer service, and they're committed to taking care of all of us and doing a great job. And so, you know, I want to make sure that this is a seamless transition, and that you know, most importantly, that there's a story of Norcross, you know, and I want to make sure that story of Norcross, that this new city manager understands that, and that they understand all the progress that's been made, and that they understand that it's important, like Sonia's saying, that we all come together, and that they understand that this is you know, I've always fondly said this is a working person's town. You know, we're all busy. We're all busy providing for our families. We're all busy contributing to our community, and we're not, you know, improving town is not necessarily. We don't want this to turn into some. At least I don't have a vision of turning this town into some Buckhead or some Avalon or anything like that. I mean, I'll just tell you right up front, I appreciate all the different folks I appreciate real estate on Beaufort High, on Beaver Ruin that I could afford for $50,000. I appreciate affordable housing. I appreciate folks just starting off and retiring here. And I want to continue to have that kind of mix in Norcross. We have folks from all over the world that live here, and that makes us a better place to be, in my opinion.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you for the question, Carla. Anybody else have a question you'd like to add? Elliot?
Well, right now, a city councilman can live anywhere and qualify for office. Do you think that the city should be broken into districts with different representatives having to reside in that district before they run?
Gosh.
You know, that's something that's been talked about, is having districts in Norcross. The Peachtree Corners has got districts for their city council. I think that when you're setting up a town, you have to look at how big the town is geographically, to make sure that you know, that's part of the district's question. It's certainly a fair topic that should be discussed, to make sure that we have that all parts of Norcross are being represented. You know, right now, the town started off, you know, as a 3/4 of a mile circle around the loading dock of the station, and I think the station was across the railroad tracks eventually when that was done. But anyways, pretty much because we've annexed all these different areas, you can't see any of that original 3/4 mile circle, and we've grown to 6.5 square miles, and could very well be that if this annexation does eventually come back to the citizens to vote on and they approve it, that districts may be the right answer.
Sonia?
Yeah, I think that it all depends on how big is the city. If it's big enough, and that at the end it will get the benefit for everybody, why not? We have to think first, what's gonna be the benefit for our residents? What they gonna get out of it? What will be the improvement for our residents?
Frank?
Good morning. Thank you both for joining us today. You both are, in effect, on a job interview, okay? We are the company, we are looking at candidates. On all of my job interviews, they've always asked me, what is your plan for the first 90 days? What are some specific things that you're going to do during those first 90 days? So could each of you tell us some specifics that you'd like to accomplish then?
Sonia, you'd be first?
Yeah, I think for the first 90 days, I would love to introduce myself to everybody. So get to know who I am. That I'm here for them. That if it's any issues that they have, where are they? What's the problem? What could be done so I can plan my future time?
Josh?
Thanks, Frank, for the question. You know, there's two main things that I'm going to be focused on the first 90 days of 2021. And the first is going back to what I mentioned earlier. We're going to be hiring a new city manager that probably happen within a month here, I would say. And so that new city manager is going to be coming in, and they're going to be needing to get up to speed, and they're going to be needing to hear from the city council and getting to know folks around town, and you know, finding out what they need to do to be successful and what are the tools they need to be successful. So I'm going to be very focused on whatever is within my role to help this city manager be successful. The second thing is that you know, over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of folks serve on the city council for 2 years, and so we've had some turnover, and so we already know that we're going to be welcoming a new city council member in January, Arlene Beckles, and I'm really excited about Arlene. She has been in this town for a long time. She's volunteered a ton. She has just a heart of gold, and so I'm really going to be focused on helping Arlene get up to speed and helping her to meet the people that she needs to meet, and to know the different things that she needs to read, and to help her as she, you know, gets used to how the city works, our agendas, and how what it takes for her to go ahead and start putting in the changes that, you know, the ideas and so on that she wants to do, how she brings those before council. So those two things are going to be the two things that I'm focused on.
Thank you, Josh. By the way, Arlene is scheduled to come to PDC sometime in October, as is Andrew Hickson, who is unopposed.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people, it's like, well, okay, you didn't have an opposition. Kind of what do you want to do moving forward? One more question. You already go. No, I got yours on there.
You didn't ask my question.
If you could change one thing about the city of Norcross, what would it be?
You want to go first?
You know, that's a good question, Bob. You know, I'll fall back to what my good friend Andrew Hickson on the city council talks about a lot, which is walkability. I wish so bad that we weren't so dependent on the car. You know, I wish so bad that it was easier to bike, and it was easier to walk, and you could get around, and you could get to a job or get downtown or get over to see your friends without hopping into a car. There's not a lot I'd change about Norcross, but that's the one thing that just sort of pops into my head, is I wish that we weren't all so dependent on cars.
Sonia?
What I will change, one thing that I will change, that I would like to change, that I would like to see a change, is connect with the small business on Beaufort Highway. Find a way maybe to get an incentive for them, so they don't come, a big corporation might say, I have this offer for the city of Norcross. And what happened? They're gonna clean everybody there and put the big corporation there. It's just thinking. But if we work with the small business and make them look more presentable, nicer, we can have people from Doraville, they fix it nice, let's go over there. Oh, I love the downtown of Norcross, let's go there. That will be something that I will love to see if you guys give me the opportunity to serve you.
Bill Brown, come on.
I want to piggyback on one question. We had a 90-day thing. You're going to be the first class of representatives to come in for 3 years, and it was a request to do that because a lot of people felt like you couldn't get started in 2. So what do you see in that 3rd year different, and what would you look forward to producing during your term of 3 years? What is the major thing you would like to get forward in that time, in that extra time?
Sonia, I know you're not on council yet, but it's still, it's a thought process.
I have, I always been thinking the children and the low income families. I would like to take that opportunity to find a way to have a cultural arts center in our city that will offer exhibitions, artwork from all over the world, because that's my expertise. I've been working in 35 years on art and costume framing. In Miami, I had a gallery. I had the opportunity to work with the government in my country, bringing artwork from El Salvador to exhibit. People like it. They recommend me all Central America, Mexico, Santo Domingo, Colombia, to bring artwork and expose. Sell the profit will go to my nonprofit. So here, we can do the same thing. I still have all those contacts. We can expose artwork from, whoever wants to work with us, with our terms, not with their terms, with our terms. And what is that? When I was doing that, I didn't have to pay 1 penny for exporting the artwork because they do it through the government. That money, the profits, will use for programs for the children. Music, art, ballet, modern dance, art classes, high-end fashion, make dresses. You see all these children that they drop off at school? Where are they? They're on the street doing the wrong thing. But if we have something to offer them, okay, you drop off, you can learn how to sew, how to do, you can be an expert on this. You can learn how to cook. I have all those contacts. So that will be something that I will try to achieve in that year.
Thanks, Sonia. Josh?
A lot of what happens for the city isn't super glamorous. It's slogging through these, especially lately with all these Zoom meetings. It's slogging through all the different things that need to happen that city staff bring to you, that the police department. It's just making sure that at the end of the day, city services are delivered. Our advanced disposal that came through here, that contract is managed well, that the police department is in good shape, that we have good leadership in all of our different departments. You know, over these 3 years, hopefully there'll be another SPLOST referendum that comes before the city, and we'll get to do some planning for that. We've done some great things with SPLOST and reinvesting that back into the community, taking that special local option sales tax and reinvesting it right back into here. I hope to continue that. We just redid our Unified Development Ordinance. There's a lot of exciting bits in that still need to be unpacked. The Beaufort Highway Master Plan, that's a really exciting project. I hope that, you know, the money that we've invested to partner with the apartment complex down here with the Gwinnett County and the library, that we can leverage that money to see more redevelopment along Beaufort Highway, more dense housing, so that the folks that live in those communities can walk and not have to get into their car and just walk right into our downtown and visit our restaurants and maybe some food trucks and the breweries. So you know, I hope to just continue the work that's been done and get this city manager up to speed and get them entrenched in Norcross, so that hopefully, you know, they're committed to spending a long time here as well, and seeing the city continue to thrive.
Thank you, Josh. I'd like to thank Sonia and Josh for taking the time to come out and answer questions. I'd really like to thank you guys for coming out. I know between COVID and everything else that's going on, it's a very difficult year for all of us, but to be involved at the local level is so important. And then you take that to the county level, and then you take it to the state level. I mean, when they say all politics is local, it's very true. The things that happen at City Hall affect each and every one of us on a daily basis. Not that, you know, in the U.S. government, the things that happen there don't affect us, they do. But the stuff that happens here it affects us today, tomorrow, and for years to come. So thank you all for coming. I hope to see you next week. And if you have any questions or anything, send me an email. And again, thank you guys for coming in. Dismissed.